Hello to you all. It's been a little bit of a break, but the United Road is back, and I'm very pleased to say that Casey Evans has joined us this week. Really excited to have him on. Let's be honest, everyone, we know exactly what we're all going to be talking about, so let's get straight into it. Casey, welcome. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I know what we're all talking about is Alex Garland's new film, Civil War. Are we correct? Is that what
Yeah,
is that what you got me on to talk about?
yeah, that's exactly
Nothing
what we
else
were going to
happened.
speak about, actually. Yeah, for the next 45, 50 minutes. It's exactly right.
Yeah, no, it
Um,
happened over the weekend. Other than that, for me, I don't
yeah,
think.
no,
Saw that on Friday, and then quiet weekend after that.
very quiet weekend. I mean, I wish that's all we were talking about, I'll be honest. Look, talk to me, mate. I don't really want to just give you sort of a closed question, to be honest. I kind of want to let you pour your heart out. You know, obviously, start with the first half and then up to the 71st minute. What was kind of your reactions to the game and the 3-0 up Man United? And then we'll move on to the final hour that we had to endure.
Well, I mean, like first 71 minutes of the game, so to speak, were probably some of the best football we've played in a long time. I think because obviously, I mean, there wasn't that much chance creation, but like I'm not expecting that at this point in time. It's been a bit of a struggle the last few games. Well, at least we had control of the game. It's probably, and it sounds like I'm now looking for a very low bar. I am looking for a very low bar of what I think is a really good United performance. But yeah, we were controlling the game. Some of me was like, well, that's the opposition. We should be controlling the game against the likes of Coventry. And yeah, then we scored 3 goals, and it was just like, yep, this is, as you could probably see from all the journalists and everyone on Twitter, it was like, yep, that's it, nice one, 3-0, should be fine, should be through to the cup final. Go home, I'll go get our teas, yeah, and then all went wrong, didn't it, Callum? I think you're on mute. Either my sound's gone out, or you're on mute, Callum. My sound got out. 1 second.
Can you hear me, mate?
I can hear you. That was a great point. I really agreed with what you said.
That was you know what? My mic just decided it didn't want to be the microphone and then move to something else. Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, I was working on Paddock on the game. Had Abdullah and Ronaldo, and then Scotty come on. And when the second goal went in, I was behind the scenes with Ethan. And Ethan, obviously being the Newcastle fan that he is, was very happy about what was going on. But I think the studio kind of was just a little bit lost for words. It was effectively in disbelief at what was going on. The penalty was a frustration for me in terms of obviously what happened the day before with City. However, my thought process it's very harsh, but you can see why it was given. The annoyance for probably me and so many other fans was why wasn't it given the day before? So
yeah, I agree with that.
Before we go on to the performance, what did you make of that decision per se? I suppose.
I mean, I was annoyed by it. It's just the rules just seem to be all over the place at the moment, and it always has been with handball, because the problem with handball is that it's the most subjective decision possible, because it's like, is there intent behind it? Is he in a natural body shape? Is he trying to move his arm away? And it just, every time they try and fix the rule, they just make it even more subjective. So I just find it becomes just like an even more of just like this amorphous blob of a rule, like this kind of mutated mess. And they just keep trying to solve it rather than just completely fixing it. They go, oh, but if we have this like silhouette now, but no one really knows what the silhouette is, and the silhouette only really counts if you're like standing face onto it. And it's like, just doesn't really make any sense. So I was annoyed. But then at the same time, I'm like we're just inviting so much pressure on ourselves, and I'm just there, just like,
It's a story of the season, that though, isn't it? Like with the pressure thing, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, because everyone saw it coming. Everyone was like, "Yep." As soon as the second goal went in, it's like, "How are we going to concede a penalty? Which one's it going to be? What we're going to do?" Because we're just letting them just run into our box and do whatever. And I just feel like, yeah, it's unlucky and it's annoying, especially with the second goal being that massive deflection, which was just insane. Because I don't know how anyone was meant to, like. Oh, there's some people were like, "Oh, Nana should have saved that." And I'm like, how is he meant to even understand where that's going? Because it's high end curling. Like,
it feels like the sort of standard is so much different. I mean, you even look at the offside, and that will come on to later and stuff. But how the reaction just that alone's caused. But forgetting that there was a decision earlier on in the game that was kind of ignored as well. But the deflection, when the sheer amount of luck that you need to go against you there is effectively that was enough to go another goal.
The laws of physics were against us. Like Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, both were just up there. Like, yeah, you know what? We're gonna from the grave. We're gonna affect this game. And here we go. Gravity and physics are gonna cause us problems.
Everything's gonna change. And yeah, that's what I mean. I just couldn't understand how you could get that unlucky. And the thing is, with it, when we invited that pressure, we allowed Coventry back into the game. And sometimes that is what you need. You just need to take that pot shot and just see if luck swings your way. Unfortunately for United, it did. The penalty was a bit frustrating, but you could see why it was given. So we'll go through in terms of the Coventry goals, obviously, or the goal that never was, I guess. In terms of the offside, what did you make of that? Because I'm really of the opinion that offside rule is probably wrong. I think that the offside rule of that ilk is similar when United were playing Arsenal earlier in the season. That doesn't give you an advantage, does it? So in the future, I'd like to see it changed. I would. But by the letter of the law now, offside and onside are quite clear. Whether it's your toenail or whether it's your 5 yards offside, you are offside. What's kind of your interpretation and want of the offside rule?
Before we go on, I'd like to say the first Coventry goal was actually a cracker. Like I know we're complaining about how they got lucky, but that first goal was really nice. I'm going to just give him that one before we move on to this one.
Was it though? Or do you not think Casemiro could have done? Oh, well, Casemiro or Delo.
It's a nice finish. I'm not going to take away from their finish. I think we could have marked it better, but it's a really nice finish. I'm not going to give him I'm not going to knock him for that. Like, it was a nice goal. I was like, yep, fair enough. I was like, if that's the only goal they score, I'll be happy because it's all right. Like, but obviously it wasn't. Offside's a really hard one, I think, because I think the problem is that everyone wanted it to be. They were like, "Oh, we have technology, we can get it really accurate," and now everyone's scared by how accurate it is. Because the fact is like everyone's always going about VAR and offsides, and I feel like they're two completely separate entities. Because with VAR, the rules are still being applied subjectively by how the referee interprets them, whereas offside is a factual thing. Like, if you're offside, you're offside. And I know, like, a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's a toenail or so on and so forth. But that's the thing. Like, the computer's not doing anything wrong there. The computer's just doing it by what's being inputted. And the fact is that comes to the smallest margins whatsoever. And I get what people say by there's not much leeway in it. But I think the problem is when you start adding leeway, you're going to end up with, like, years of just like, oh, we're going to adjust it to a foot. Oh, a foot's way too much. Let's adjust it to half a foot. Oh no, that's too little. And then it just keeps going back and forth. And I'm like, and also defending it in the first place is such a hardest job. Like the one that everyone keeps going on about, like, oh, if any part of your body that you can score with is onside, you're still onside. I absolutely despise that argument. And I'm going to this is my strongest opinion that you're going to get probably on this podcast, is I despise that opinion because defending by itself is incredibly hard. And you're telling me that we should let, like, Harry Maguire be against Ollie Watkins, and Ollie Watkins can basically be a whole body length in front of him, and he has to turn and go after him. And even like, and I'm saying that on like the extremes of the situation. Like, I think most defenders would struggle to turn and start running if the guy's running in full sprint and got like a body length on him. So I hate that rule. I really hate when people suggest that, because it just
isn't that Wenger's one.
Yeah, I think it's Wenger who brought it in, but it's been like kind of recirculated by a lot of people when all these offside things come about. Like, I saw it a bit when the Coventry one, it was like, this is what should offside should be, and I'm like, no, because it's just like it makes defending 10 times harder, like if not even more. So
it gives the attacker such an advantage, that doesn't it? Like almost, it's obviously entertainment and entertainment sort of for TV and stuff, and it'd obviously bring more goals. I think that's probably the thinking of the TV companies, but in terms of football as a sport, it makes it a little bit ridiculous, doesn't it? To be honest,
yeah. Me and Carl Anker always have this conversation about the offside rule. Big up, Carl. Yeah, might as well shout him out if he's listening. You still owe me a book. We always have this conversation that everyone kind of always focuses on. Oh, attacking's what makes football great, and I'm like, no, there is an art to defending. Like there's when you see a really nice defensive performance and a defender really getting into it and kind of tackling and reading the pitch well and everything, there's an art to it. And it shouldn't be that that's then limited because it's like, yeah, we want to see 5 4s and 6 3s. And like by the time, like at that point, it's like you just get into gluttony stages where it's like, it's a bit boring, isn't it? It's like, yeah, okay, we're going into a match, and it's like, oh well, they've scored 3 goals, but that was going to happen. Sweet, like, just kind of gets to this boring stage where there's no excitement to it, there's no little edge to it. So we always have that conversation, and it's always like, yeah, we always talk about that. You shouldn't take away from the art of defending in favor of just being like, we want these big score lines that we can clip up and put on social media.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, going back to the offside thing, the one thing that I despise about offside, and is the thing that I would definitely change about it is, and maybe this is, I don't know if this is a VAR thing or if it's the interpretation of what the referees are doing when they're on VAR, but where they seem to draw the line seems to change a lot. I don't like the fact that offside, I think offside should be done by the foot, not the shoulder. So if a player's leaning forward or whatever, that's offside.
Yeah.
That I don't see how that's offside in my eyes. I think it should be drawn from the foot because that's where your sort of momentum's coming from. It's not coming from your shoulder. You know, if I'm leaning forward and I'm 5'9.5", which I am, but I'm going against a defender who is 6 foot, it's that's also almost unfair. I think it should always be from where your foot is or from the front of your foot. And I think that is part of the rule. I'd definitely change. I think because I think it becomes a little bit problematic when you start drawing lines on shoulders and halfway down the arm sleeve and stuff. I think it just becomes a little bit ridiculous and almost overcomplicates the situation.
Yeah, but then at the same time, I can see what they mean by why they draw it from the shoulders, because you have to draw it the same throughout the pitch. So, like, yeah, we're talking about when we're running, but if you're in the box and it comes off your shoulder and goes in, and your shoulder was offside, you're like, well, he is offside, isn't he? Like,
yeah, I do get that. I do get that. I think it's offside has almost become an opinion. It's almost, it should be almost fact. And I think VAR has probably caused this debate to the point where, well, do you know what? I wouldn't even argue it's VAR. I think the referees and the inconsistencies within the officials has probably caused a debate around offside, which in itself has then caused over complications. And
if offside had the offside technology had been brought in at different stage to VAR, the same way that goal line technology was brought in, I do not think there would have been the debate that there is around it, because I feel like goal line technology is just universally accepted as, yep, that's fine. Sweet. That's factual information. Like, you literally, it's like, not cross the line. Sweet. End of the day.
Yeah.
Move on. Like, yeah, there might have been like the odd people, but I feel like as soon as you go, or like the semi-automatic, if they got to a point where the semi-automatic offsides that they've been doing in the Champions League was the tech, and they just went straight in, we're not going to tuck it with VAR. It's its own thing. And yeah, now offsides don't need linesmen. Sweet. Nice one. At the end of the day, we don't have to have a guy running up and down trying to catch up with a game when he's not as fit as like, I'm using Ollie Watkins a lot as my example, but it's just in my head. It's just like fast, nippy striker that gets on the shoulder, Ollie Watkins. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, if it had been brought in separately to VAR, I feel like it wouldn't have been so easy to critique it in the way that people have. I think.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think people just need to remember that it's probably one single line, and it's always going to be like that. There was a lot of talk on various sports stations in regards to, like, daylight and all that. I never really understood what that meant, to be honest. I think it just overcomplicates it.
If you can open a crack in the door and the light comes through it, that's not offside. I'm like, I'm just like, sorry. So what you're saying, Dean Saunders?
What?
Like,
yeah, well, I didn't want to name drop TalkSport, but it's definitely TalkSport that makes that debate really hard to listen to.
That was Dean Saunders in a pub. That was just him talking to some like lads who just walked in. That wasn't on TalkSport.
I'm sure Jamie O'Hara's done something similar as well. I think it's become a little bit of a thing on there, the debate around offsides. It tends to always become a debate when United have played as well, which is funny. Yeah. Obviously, it ended up a very strange and horrible game as a United fan, and of course we did get through to the final. But Casey, in your opinion, mate, what went wrong? Like, literally, in terms of, was it the subs, the manager, the players? Did they give it, like, was it the effort? All the old cliches you see on Twitter after a game when we lose or draw. What went wrong?
Are you sure you don't want me to talk about Alex Garland's Civil War? Because we could be here a while on this point.
Yeah, exactly.
What went wrong is what's been going wrong all season. In general, like, we don't create enough good chances. it's kind of a mess getting the ball from back to front. The back line's not protected by the midfield. And it's I say to this season, it's a problem that we've been having recurring for years now. Like the team is not built fully like a squad. Like the fact is like, and the fact is like one of the only midfielders who can get the ball from back to front's Mainu, and he took him off at like 60 minutes. So as soon as he goes off, you're like, well, okay, then that's sweet. That facet of our players just completely evaporated into thin air. But yeah, it's just messy. I think obviously the players need to take. This is one of the things that everyone always, when you make a point, people always think that you are only talking about that thing, and that's the thing that you say is the only problem. Obviously, the players have to take accountability for conceding 3 goals.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Absolutely.
Like the pressure we invited on ourselves, the goals we conceded. Obviously, 2 were quite lucky in the situation, but we have to take responsibility of that. But I think the manager also has to take responsibility by the fact that these tactics haven't been working all season, and his in-game substitutions were terrible. Like he brought on Anthony, who completely removed Garnacho's pressure from that side. He brought on Ericsson, who was just a complete non-entity throughout the game, like throughout his entire time on the pitch. And it's just, and then I think it was the offside goal as well. He told Maguire to go and play as striker, and literally they just went and attacked through where Maguire was. And I'm like, we're already going to end to end. They're like, do not send a centre back up to play striker. Like it just seems like the most simple thing in the world. It's like the 3 at the back formation he plays sometimes, where it's 2 left. It's a left back and a right back at centre back. Yeah. And it's like, it's the most strange thing in the world to look at, because it just like, we could play the completely the same way, but it just completely breaks how we play.
Yeah.
And it's just like one of those things, like it just doesn't seem to be working. Like whatever we're going for doesn't seem to be working. And it just seems like that should have been changed way back now. And every single week we're looking at it, and it's like everyone just says this looks exactly the same to what the problem was last week. And the only person who seems to think that there's any positives in it is Erik ten Hag in press conferences. So it's a very strange one.
Yeah, that is the strangest thing, though, and I get there's an element of sort of appeasing people in conferences and stuff, but his comments recently have been very bizarre. Not just from the Coventry game or what he said today.
Why does he keep bringing up that Arsenal match? I need to know. I just need someone to ask him why he keeps bringing up that Arsenal game.
But this is what it's bizarre, though, isn't it? Because he keeps bringing certain things up, or he keeps making particular comments, and it just makes me think, are you showing signs of a man who knows he's under a lot of pressure, and you are really trying to just get through these press conferences? I think the thing that blew my, and he sort of fought back at the media today. I wish he could have done it earlier in terms of the embarrassment. They were embarrassing and disgrace in terms of the reactions. But I feel if you're a Manchester United manager and you are conceding 3 goals, not just conceding 3, but losing a 3-goal lead to a team in the division below you, who are they've still got a chance of making the playoffs, but very unlikely to make the playoffs. You must expect scrutiny, and you must expect some kind of almost embarrassment around that, to be honest, especially with the media and the way they always act around United anyway.
It was very much trying to pick your fight at the end of the war sort of scenario. Like it's like you could have had this argument about 20 times. Like, not that the media have really given him that much of a hard time. I think like that's kind of been a bit of a running thing, and I don't think they've given him that much of a hard time, really. Like there's generally been like a bit of a turn towards him like this year, but that you can understand it with the performances. But like when it was kind of like 50-50, if he'd started like being a bit more bitey and a bit more fight back, then I'd be fine with it. But it's like, pick your battles. This is what's just happened at the weekend. You've just conceded 3 goals to a championship side. This is not the time to start getting ratty. And it wasn't even like in a sort of way with like, I'm going to snap back with my stats and my opinions and what my coaches say. It's like, oh, you said good morning, did you? It's good afternoon. How are you a journalist? I'm like, what's going on here? You're starting this out on a really bad foot. Maybe don't do that. Maybe just calm. Your head's obviously gone.
It is properly, his head went, didn't it? And I understand, obviously, he's got to have the patience with some of the journalists. Obviously the likes of I don't know, off the top of my head, say Luckhurst. I know he's obviously had his critics, me being one of them, but, obviously he's had his critics and things like that. So I can get there's a frustration there, but I think after that happening on the weekend, that was not the time to go, you know what, I am going to fight back to the journalists. I think there's other times when United have played well, where probably should have won and didn't. Maybe against Chelsea, for example, which was really frustrating. You could have picked your battles there. There's better times to do it, especially after that, but it was bizarre. But I think you're absolutely right in terms of what's gone wrong there. It's a consistent issue. And to be honest, I think, and we're going to get onto Ten Hag a bit more in detail a bit later on, but I think it kind of epitomises the consistent commentary from fans on why he's probably under pressure in terms of the problems that we're seeing don't seem to be being addressed. And I don't understand, the constant shots at goal, the gaping holes between the defence and the midfield and how low they are, but how high the midfield and attackers are. There's just so many questions to ask around tactics, performance levels, results as well, which ultimately is what it's all about. But in terms of the Coventry game, obviously we've moved on. We are in the final. So finishing that little segment on a positive note, what are you expecting for the final against Manchester City?
Is it really a positive note?
Oh God!
I hope we give them a fight. That's all I want to see. I'm not expecting a win. I'm not expecting it to be like the most standout performance. But if we give them a fight and we actually look like we've put a shift in, which I think we will, then I'll be fine with it. Like I just want to see us actually be like, this is a cup final against Manchester City. We do need to actually play properly. And we do need to go for every tackle, fight for every ball. Don't just let them play it around like they're doing an El Rondo in the park. Actually show a bit of grit.
Yeah, I mean, the positive I take is I imagine most of the team are about fit by the end of May. I just scrap the Premier League off now, to be honest. Play the academy.
The positive I'll take is by the time that cup final starts, I'll probably be drunk.
To be fair, I've booked my table in the pub already. If anyone does want to give me a Wembley tip, feel free. But tickets, bizarrely, seem to be like gold dust this season. And also, United, thank you very much for the QR codes that you're deciding to do, which is a disgrace in itself. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to come on to a man at Man United that has been a very common topic, just throughout the season. Marcus Rashford. What's kind of your thoughts on him this season? His performances? Does he need to leave? Does he need another new manager? What's kind of your opinion? Because there is something I want to bring up about Rashford in a minute.
Let's just address the elephant in the room to begin with. He shouldn't leave. This is just that is to me just the stupidest equation to take from this, that he should leave. Because at his best, he is one of the best wingers in the league. And if you want to try and get someone even near his output when he's on it, or even say if he scored 4 or 5 more goals and got a couple more assists, to get that output, you're paying 60, 70 million. And there's people going exactly. I'd sell him for 30. I'm like, you're insane. What are you saying? Yeah.
That is solely agenda driven though, isn't it? And the
yeah, exactly. People. And that's what I mean. And it's just I tried to put this in a way that didn't straight up say the statement, because it would have definitely got me a lot of stick. But he's not actually been that bad this season. Yeah, he's only got 7 goals and whatever, but in the context of the team, and how the team's been performing, the top goal scorer is, I think it is Fernandes now, is it? I'm not sure. It might be Fernandes. It might be still Højlund. I'm not sure. I think it is Fernandes after the last couple of games. With 12 goals? I should have looked this up before I started making this point. But
I don't. You're definitely around the right level anyway.
Yeah, it's in double figures, but only just. And Rashford's on 7 or 8. So it's not like he's lagging behind, or he's absolutely pulling down an attack by himself, is he? It's not like, oh yeah, Garnacho's on 15, Højlund's on 20, Rashford's on 2. He's in the context of this team that doesn't seem to really get the ball to him in great scenarios. Because that's another thing. Obviously everyone always talks about him tracking back, but the clear tactic at United is for him to stay up, us to ping the ball up to him, and him to hold it up and drive it while everyone else runs up to get it. And everyone's like, oh, why is he dribbling with it? Why is he holding on? I'm like, that's because that's what he's asked to do. Like, it's easy to see. Like, you can just watch the game, and that's just why he's there. But I just think it's such a weird agenda, and it just always happens where a player, it just seems to be that everyone's always like, oh, he's on so much money. He obviously he went out once and didn't turn up to training, like, but till later. Other players have done that. Like, he's obviously looked a bit miffed on when he's on the pitch. He obviously doesn't care. Could also mean he does care, and he's just annoyed that he's not influencing a game. Like, so many conclusions are being drawn from so little. Like, it just is an insane mess to try and pick through. And the problem is the people that have already made their mind up will continue to make their mind up until he scores. Like, I say this until he scores like 30 again, but I had people trying to tell me yesterday that the 30-goal season wasn't even good. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what are we doing here? Like, is there any point us continuing this conversation? Because that's obviously a wrong statement.
my worry for Rashford is, I think, because there seems to be such an agenda around him that people will then refuse to listen to any other opinion around him because they've made their mind up. And even if he does go score 30 goals, like you just said, someone said, oh, it wasn't even that good. Like, come on, man. Like, that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
he doesn't do much. He doesn't do much else over when you got like 41 goal contributions. Yeah, you don't do much else in the game. You got 41 goal contributions.
Good. If you don't do much else, I don't really care if he's providing that. And it's kind of like,
and also he had like the most. He also was one of like the most consistent dribblers in that team. Like, yeah, he just what he does. Like, like he does what he does. Like,
I can't remember for a very long time if I've ever seen a player receive the abuse that Rashford has. I mean, there was a table of athletes. I think the only person in world sport that gets more abuse than Rashford is LeBron James.
Yeah, and that's insane, really.
And I just find it bizarre because, and do you know what? I actually think it's fueled by United fans, in inverted commas, but I think it's fueled by United fans online that. And United fans, I don't actually see it at the game. I think matchgoers and people who are in the area tend to be really sort of defensive of him. I think they obviously criticise his form and things like that, but I just don't understand the abuse he receives, especially online. It's almost to a hate-filled level that
I think it's definitely more online. I do see it start creeping into the stadium. I saw it a lot with Maguire. When Maguire was getting a lot of stick, it started to creep into the stadium a lot. And people were sat around me like he'd literally like receive the ball at the back and pass it to Lindelof, and everyone would be like, "Oh, why is he not pinging it forward?" I'm like, "Sorry." Like,
but that's what
is this?
Criticism, isn't it? It's just an agenda, isn't it?
But that's what I mean. It probably would lend in a little bit that way. And I think that maybe Rashford's had a little bit of that, but that might be just who sits near me. I'm not sure.
Yeah, potentially.
But yeah, it is just insane. It's like United fans at this point just need someone to blame, and it annoys me. And it's just so easy how they get directed into these like channels and avenues when it's like you can have multiple opinions. You can say X, Y, Z. You can act in a grey area. It's not just like he's trying to burn down Old Trafford or he's the best player in the world. There is a grey area between that. Like there's not like it's not just those two extremes. Yeah, and it's just insane. And I feel like that the problem is that social media amplifies it because social media is by design a platform that amplifies extremes.
Yeah, exactly. You're kind of spot on there, though, aren't you? I mean, in terms of the extremes, there's never an in between. It's never, oh, he was good. It's always, he's amazing, or, oh my God, he was terrible. And it's like, the thing that really bothers me about it is the clips of when he's playing. There'll be a clip where he's just jogging and it's used against him when he was either nowhere near the ball or he clearly wasn't supposed to be in that position to press
that one against City was insane because everyone was like, look at him jogging about. And I'm like, do you understand that one person isn't just meant to press? Like he was like, oh yeah, I should like run after him and go after him. I'm like, if he goes after Cole Palmer just passes it to someone else because no one else is pressing because everyone's back. He's just a bit further up than everyone else was. Like I was there like...
Exactly. It just seems like such a ridiculous thing to sort of target him. And I get he's been out of form. I get he's not been brilliant and all that sort of stuff. But I think I do feel for him almost at this stage, and I think that's where the question comes in terms of does he need to leave to get away from that? Because I don't want him to leave, and I think most United fans I speak to are fairly straight-headed and know that Rashford shouldn't leave Man United. You know, it's his club; he grew up here, blah blah blah. But would you potentially see why he'd leave?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like he gets stick, like you said, with LeBron James is like the most hated athlete in the world, and then it's Marcus Rashford. Like it's a man who basically is the Tom Brady of his sport, who caused pain to thousands of people, and basically has then stoked some fire in them that they decided, yeah, I'm going to be racist, abusive, and all that sort of stuff completely out of no reason, just because a guy's very good at basketball. And then it's a guy who plays for a single team in a league where we're not actually that good. And like everyone's like, yeah, let's go after Rashford. Why not? Because I don't know. Like it's just one of those things. Like he did that Players Tribune thing, and he was like, I don't want to make any excuses. I've not been playing that well. I just want to know that I want you to know that I hear what you're saying and I want to do better. Everyone was like, why are you making excuses?
Even that, then people were like, "Oh, that's just PR. It's his typical PR team," and it's like he literally can't win with you guys. No matter what he does, he either plays badly and you scream at him, he plays well and you scream at him. He comes out and says, "Look, guys, I know I've not been playing well." It's like he literally can't win with the fan base.
It's like stop making excuses. And I'm like, he's not making it. He literally the first line reads, "I'm not making any excuses." Like he's just addressing it. Like it's like people have just completely lost all media literacy around what everyone says. Like we stopped doing the apologies at least, and like now everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you don't care. You're obviously not caring enough." It's like whenever they said they cared, everyone was like, "Stop talking on Twitter. Stop telling us. Show it on the pitch." And then everyone and now he's like, "Oh, he's walked around a bit, and here's a 5-second clip of him walking." When it's like probably gone out for a throw in, and it's like, look at him, he's not doing it on the pitch. Like, how are we meant to know what he feels? Like so it's a merry-go-round of pain is probably the way to describe it.
Yeah.
And the lesser known group of House of Pain.
Yeah, exactly.
It's subgroup merry-go-round of pain.
It's almost like a tattoo he needs to put on, because no matter what, he can't win. And I genuinely fear for him that he won't be able to excel at United just because of the sheer hate and abuse he gets, and it worries me. But moving on from Rashford, I've got a quote.
I mean, to be fair on the Rashford point, I'd just like to point out he had all this abuse under Rangnick and at the end of Solskjaer when he was coming back for injury, and he did come back from it there. So I do back him to come back from it, because I do think that that's his character. But
yeah,
I'd also understand if he just went, you know what, I don't need this. Like I'm playing a game of football and my job.
My point. Yeah,
I don't need people shouting at me.
I mean, when he was it Solskjaer or Rangnick when he had the back injury? I think it was Solskjaer, wasn't it?
It was Solskjaer, and then he came back from during the end of Solskjaer, but he wasn't really fit because he had the operation after England. Everyone had a go at him for going to England instead of getting the operation. Then he came back and he wasn't really fit for that, and then Rangnick just didn't play him. And everyone was like, why is Rashford not performing? It's like, because he's not on the pitch, Sancho's playing.
It's what I mean. It's just the guy couldn't win. And the thing is as well, I get your point in terms of his mental ability to come back. He's done it before, but I think I just fear for him in terms of what if he doesn't this time, kind of thing, because the level of abuse he's actually getting is actually quite unbelievable to this stage, where I'm a bit like, do you know what? I almost wouldn't blame you. It's like I can only compare it, and I know obviously it was 25 years ago, but I can only compare it to the level that probably Beckham got if social media was a thing then. That's the only level I can compare it. I mean, obviously that was sort of.
I'd also like to point out that, like, if you, I know, like, this is how this conversation always ends up, because someone always compares it to Beckham, and then someone was like, "Oh, they were hanging effigies in the street," and I'm always like, "That was not a normal thing to do. Stop acting like that was like that makes this situation now better."
Yeah,
it's like when it's like, "Oh yeah, Harry Maguire had a bomb threat." It's like, well, Beckham wanted to be hanged by half the country. Both are not normal things to do. Like, it doesn't, like, there's not like a scale on where they should be allowed to be abused to. It's like there's a line here, and we're already crossing it about here. Hanging is probably up here, but still, it's pretty bad to be here. Like, it's like this weird thing. And I'm like, everyone always like tries to justify it with that. And I'm like, they're just like, you're insane. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the worst possible thing. Oh, well, they didn't go to the worst level, so it doesn't really matter. It's like, no, how about all of it's just bad? We don't do that, shall we? But I feel for him, I really do, and I really hope he sort of picks up. And I think, I mean, we will get onto it in a few minutes, but I do genuinely think that a very big reset is coming. But like I say, we'll get onto that. First, though, Casey, I have a quote to read out to you from a certain Anthony.
Anthony Dos Santos, number 21.
Yeah. Coventry proved why they reached the semi-final. We see at this spot in the final for our fans, and we achieved. The way our fans were treated by their players was not nice, and I, in the heat of the moment, I've reacted to the provocations in the natural defence of my club. Now, he's tweeted that. I won't say who he's replied to, but he has tweeted that, and I was really outspoken when I seen what he did after that penalty shootout. I thought it was pretty disgusting. I think he should have been embarrassed in terms of the performances anyway. I actually thought he was probably at fault for one of the goals, to be honest. What was your make in the situation? Do you think, oh, well, fair play for him for doing it? Or do you understand why he did it? Or should he have not done it at all?
I understand why he did it, but it's not a fair play reason. He's just an idiot. I feel like it's just as simple as that. Like, there's too many of our players who are completely and utterly driven by their own impulses. And like, it is completely in his character to do that. Like, he tried to fight the referee last week because some guy nudged him in the back and the referee was looking the other way. Like, he's genuinely just impulse driven. And I could completely, like, when I read that thing, I'm like, I could completely understand that was his reason in his head, because he didn't think 2 steps ahead of it, because he was like, oh yeah, we just won, and I saw someone do the thing into it, so it was like, I'd do it to all their players. He didn't think I was really bad and we just conceded 3 goals to a championship side and we just had to go to penalties after being 3 goals up. Like, exactly. he definitely didn't go through his head. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can just see it in his head. Like, nothing was whirling there. It just was like, yeah, that's how I'm going to do it. And it's like I can be annoyed at him because that's just how he is, and I'm not happy with that's how he is. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't have the time of the day or the oxygen to be annoyed to the level that some people were at. Like, it's just another one of those things in this club where it's like, it's just a mess. Like, I'm not gonna. Yeah. It's not. It's like it's like 7th on the list of problems. I don't really need to really spend time how Anthony celebrated against community players. It was a bit disrespectful. He is disrespectful. That's just how he is. Like, I don't like him for it, but it's not like it's surprising to me.
Yeah. Let me ask you then, because some people mentioned this to me, and I didn't think it was comparable. If it was City or Arsenal or even Spurs or Newcastle, somebody like that, and they were giving it him, and he turned around and did that, would it have been more okay?
Yeah, like the thing it is completely circumstantial. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's the other thing with it. I feel it is completely circumstantial, because it is, like I said, like, I feel like he would have done that to no matter who he was playing. The situation did not go through his head of it's a championship side who are not in the playoffs. He probably didn't even know who Coventry were before he saw the team sheets on the Sunday afternoon. Like, that's what I mean. Like, maybe Ten Hag mentioned him in a training session. He might have heard it then, but he probably didn't know who they were until that point. Like, it just didn't go through his head. Like, so the fact is, he and it probably would have been better against City, because it's like, yeah, direct rivals. Everyone would have been fine with it. Like, Newcastle, nobody likes Newcastle. Everyone would have been fine with it. Like, Coventry, the team that just scored 3 goals against you while you were on the pitch and now took you to penalties. Yeah, people care about it. It just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you do it? There's no reason to get all uppity about it. It's like when you're playing against, like, it's like if you're playing against your nephew on FIFA and you score a goal by sweating it, you don't just turn around to him and start shushing him, do you? Like,
probably, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, they need to learn a lesson, but at the same time, it's a bit like the people, your parents probably look at you like, come on. Like,
yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? Like, I think people were struggling to understand the difference in the fact that it was a team in the Championship and if it was against City, for example. The thing that hurts me was, like you just said, it didn't go through his head that 3 goals were conceded. We were 3-0 up. We've had to go to penalties because it seemed like the rest of the team had it go through the head because none of them bleeding celebrated. Usually a penalty shootout when you all charge forward.
Like Højlund did it. Højlund run forward. He just scored the penalty. Fair enough. And then he turned around. No one was there. Maguire was already shaking hands. Like they were all like, "Yeah, we're not celebrating this. It's done. Like let's get back in the dressing room."
That's what I feel like should have happened. So it was a little bit disappointing from Anthony's side that didn't kind of run through his head. It was a little bit like, look, guys, this has just happened. I think he's might want to get out a TV shot because I don't think people are very happy with how we've just got through. I get we got through to the final. Very happy we got through to the final. But the circumstances that surrounded how we got there really left it. It was like popping a balloon in the fan base. Like everybody just felt deflated. People left Wembley happy, but just couldn't believe what they'd just seen. So that was kind of all I wanted. I just wanted a little bit, just read the room a little better, and understand the situation. And I feel like just that moment of thinking, because even of course Coventry are going to goad you, because look what they've just managed to do to you. You're Man United.
It's like oh yeah, like look at Hardy Wright. Like I saw some tweets like look at Hardy Wright doing it. Like you're not going to go at him, and I'm like, he's a Coventry player.
Yeah,
he's playing
exactly.
Man United.
Of course they're going to do it.
And you've been giving him stick the entire. They probably were cheering him before he took the penalty when he scored it. Like that's probably why he did it. Like
yeah, exactly.
So,
that's what I mean.
It makes sense. Like
it is bizarre. It's a bizarre situation all round, and I honestly wish we could just end the season now at this point. But
yeah. It is, and it is also perfectly United fans to have this massive debate around it. It's just like we're hanging on to anything at this point. We're glad that people stopped talking about the 3 goals conceded. We're like, oh yeah, Anthony was shocking it. Yeah, talk about that. Don't talk about the rest of the match. Talk about that.
If anything, I commend him for making that happen. To be fair, because at least he didn't have to remember the shambolic performance in the last half an hour of whatever it was. But at least we got there. And I mean, like I say, let's focus on the positives. At least we got there. Oh yeah, I guess it's against City, but whatever. We'll ignore that bit. But it brings me quite nicely to sort of near to the end. Casey Evans, Eric Ten Hag, are you in or are you out?
You put me on the spot here. I don't. I'll play a bit of devil's advocate. I am going to end with leaning one way because it's probably clear which way I am leaning. I think this has been messy. This whole our time with Eric, so to speak, it makes it sound like some sort of like love affair in like an 80s movie. But it's been messy. There has been good moments, but this season has just been a bit too messy. He keeps talking about, we get the results, but we don't always get the results, and the performances aren't there. And everyone keeps saying, like, Arteta got 8th in this. And so I'm like, yeah, but Arteta's team looked much better to Unai Emery's team the season before. The performance has improved. Like, that's what you want to see. If you're not winning, you want to see yourself getting closer to winning. That's the thing. So that's not happened. And it's not like while his press conferences annoys me and some of his general tactics and quotes annoy me, I'm not like, I will drive you to Amsterdam myself.
Yeah.
In that camp. And if the ownership are going to be like, look, we're going to go ahead with Eric Ten Hag and we're going to give him the money and we're going to give him a season, and then it still don't, I'll be like, fair enough. We'll see how it works out. Rather than it not happen. But like the other option is what? It's David Moyes again. Like the other options I would generally just cry. I think I just stand outside Old Trafford and stare up into the air instead of going in. I'd probably it's like a Vietnam flashback sort of like stare. So Marouane Fellaini drifting across the screen. But like it is one of those things where I wouldn't be like, if there was no other options, but if you're like saying like, look, we've got this project in mind and we think this manager's the best suit for it, and I think there are a couple of managers who are, then I'd be like, sweet, okay, yeah, thanks for your time, Eric. It's been nice. Not been great, but you know what? I'm not going to be annoyed at you. You're not Jose Mourinho. Like, I don't hate you. You're not like David Moyes, who crushed the dreams of a 15-year-old. Like, it's fine. So just have a good time in wherever you end up next, wherever that may be, and we'll probably get someone else in. So yeah, out is probably where I'm leaning at the moment. I think there's just been too many games in a row where I've been like, it's just not been going well, and it just doesn't look like it's getting any better. And you can say injuries, you can say doesn't have the players, you can say X, Y, Z, but there's just nothing. Like, there's not even like one thing I can cling on where I'm like, there's
really
that spark, there's that little magic where I'm like, when he gets some other players in, this will look better, or when he starts having these players bringing in, that'll look amazing. I'm like, they're just like, none of this works. Maybe, sorry, I hit my mic there. Maybe like Dallo, Hoyle, and Garnacho, but they're like individually doing good things. So it's not even like a system thing. So it's like, it's a weird one.
I think I am on that side now, and I backed him even with the last run of results and performances. I was still of the essence of like, do you know what? Yeah, I'm still Ten Hag in. I can't defend what happened on Sunday, but then you add the performances and the shots conceded, the tactical issues we're seeing constantly. The excuse of injuries, I literally had Dev Bajwa, shout out to him, only I think 4 or 5 weeks ago, and we were both very much of the agreement of the injuries and all and everything else. That, do you know what, Ten Hag in? I think with the Jamie Carragher said it. I think that performance and that result on Sunday cost Ten Hag his job. I really do think that. I actually think because Ineos will not keep Ten Hag on the basis of winning an FA Cup. They will do it as a collective decision on everything else in terms of data, analysts, performance levels, everything, player opinion, every single thing, fan opinion.
Yeah,
it won't be solely based on an FA Cup final against Manchester City, because an FA Cup final you could win. That's not going to save him his job.
There's too much money involved to just, because what it would be is it would just be on a feeling, wouldn't it? If he wins the FA Cup, everyone's like, "Oh, it's good vibes." It'd just be like, "Yeah, we got to bet a $2 billion project on just vibes, plus transfer fees, plus infrastructure, plus staffing, plus all this just on vibes." It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Not really, are we? Like,
I think
we're gonna.
Yeah, exactly. But I say in terms of it, it's no embarrassment for him. I don't think. Many managers over the last 11 years have tried and failed big time in terms of getting United back to where they belong and all that. They really have. We've had Mourinho, Van Gaal, Solskjaer, Rangnick, Moyes, and now Ten Hag. With Ten Hag, obviously a League Cup win, a third place finish, 2 FA Cup finals with the potential of winning one. I don't think it's any mean feat, and I think it's actually very good. And I think you then, like I said before, and getting onto it now, I think a huge reset is coming this summer. A very huge reset, and I think that involves the manager. And I would be shocked if Ten Hag is the manager. The one thing I would say is, please, for the love of Jesus, do not hire Gareth Southgate as Manchester United manager.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I thought there was going to be a very strong opinion about Thomas Tuchel there, and I was going to be like, Thomas Tuchel's not that bad. It's like, he's not great, but he's not that bad. But yeah, Gareth Southgate. If I saw his waistcoat on the touchline,
no,
I'm going. If he gets signed by United, I'm going down to my local M&S and I'm burning the waistcoat section. I'm not seeing him in a waistcoat on the touchline. I refuse to do it.
I think I'd burn the whole shop down, to be honest. I mean, the problem with it is, look, we've all got our opinions around the England team and the England setup and blah, blah, blah. He cannot be Man United manager. And just going on Thomas Tuchel, I wouldn't be completely against it. I don't think. He's not the best option, I don't think. I was saying that.
There's a lot. There's the thing, like, there's no. This is why I said about the Ten Hag thing. It's like, there's no definitive option. Like, even like when people are like saying, "Oh, Ruben Amorim," it's like, or like even when Alonso was on the table, it's like, Alonso, Leverkusen is his first job in management. Give him a little bit more. Amorim, he manages Sporting CP. Like, he might need a little bit more. Like, West Ham, I thought would probably be like, the problem is like Amorim won't go to West Ham because he knows he has the stock in this market to go to someone better. But he should have gone to someone like West Ham, because West Ham would give him the money and the situation to actually like properly like do the De Zerbi thing, where they'd be like, just get yourself up there, and then be like, and now everyone's after De Zerbi being like, oh, De Zerbi is so amazing because he's doing such a good thing with Brighton. It's like, yeah, That's it. He cemented already like a really good reputation outside of Europe, or outside of England, not Europe. He was in Europe, but yeah, there isn't like a definitive name. Like
it's not comparable to the Van Gaal day, is it? When Jose was kind of right there to go and get. It's nothing like that, is it? Really? Now?
I mean, Jose is right there. Jose is right there.
Yeah, but he's certainly not something I'd want to revisit. But it's like a lot of people probably said Nagelsmann, but he's obviously just contract with Germany.
4 pints before every match and smacking my head against a wall. I think I could enjoy a Jose Mourinho one season of Jose Mourinho. I don't know. Just give me just suffering, just straight suffering. You know what?
Do you know what? I want to ask you one question then, right? Because I keep seeing it online. Would you bring Solskjaer back?
No.
Why?
Solskjaer had his time, and so what we had with Solskjaer was lovely. But it's the same thing as you don't go back to an ex-girlfriend, do you? Like, unless you do not go back to an ex-girlfriend, you don't go back to like what was slightly abusive relationship because we're all like, oh, hey, Solskjaer, so fun. Like, I mean, I'm not, and this is, I'm like, let me put it this way. He had tactics, he had a style of play, he had a team, he had the players' respect. I'm not saying all that, but predominantly the reason people liked him was because it was a very good United vibe. That was it. Like, it was a very nice, everyone was like, he's United through and through, and we want to back him regardless. And when he didn't play that well, we were like, he might get it in the next game. It was like we gave him a little bit. It's like that sort of like encouraging nudge constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that last season was like, it's going horribly wrong, but like you're trying to salvage the relationship. You're like, yeah, no, it's fine. You cook those eggs. I know it's your third try, but you cook them. You can do it. You can do it, bud. It was one of those things where everyone wanted it to work out.
Everyone wanted it to work out so badly as well.
That's what I mean. And it was like fueling that. And I feel like while that might look good for maybe like some people are saying interim, and I don't feel like an interim at this point. It's just pointless because like the season's dead. Like it's just the FA Cup in it. Like there's one game and that like one guy's not going to change that. It's not like if you're going to get in one guy for one game, just drag out Alex Ferguson out of the director's box. Like just like if you want to do that,
absolutely.
I mean, like might give him heart palpitations. I'm not going to lie, but like just drag him out of the director's box and just let him just manage it for a game. Like
it would be insane if that happened as well, wouldn't it? My God.
Yeah, it would definitely be like last case scenario sort of thing. But like, if that's the logic in that sort of fact of like this season is like the Premier League don't matter. It is literally just the FA Cup and it's like one game. Like, there's no point bringing in an interim for that. And I do not think that you want to back a whole project on him, especially when it kind of went wrong the last time. And yeah, you'll have a lot more behind him, but like, there's other people that have situations like McKenna is in that situation where I think McKenna's he's doing really nice tactical things at Ipswich, and he's doing really nice things with a low budget at Ipswich, and obviously like back-to-back promotions and all that sort of stuff. So like that's probably like if you're going for we want to go back to the Solskjaer times, but we want to like just get McKenna, like and maybe like. I mean, I'm not actually adverse to it. Like in my head, I've actually talked myself into it a little bit. If that actually was like, yeah, that's what we're doing, because I'm like, he's done a lot of things with a low budget. It's like if you have everyone else doing everything else for him, and he's just coaching a team and getting him to play the way he wants. The way he plays in the Championship's really good. So, like, I'm not really going to be adverse to that. Like, yeah.
Well, in terms of the rest of the season, just finishing up, mate, what are kind of your expectations?
Pain, suffering, more pain. No, we got some easy matches in there.
Have we though? Because
easy.
It was supposed to be an easy match on Sunday, and it wasn't. So, do we?
Yeah, for the people who are listening to this podcast, that was a very big air quote on the easy. Like, obviously, fighting for relegation at this point of the season is always a horrid match to go into. So, obviously, Sheffield United and Burnley back to back, not fun. But they're easy on paper.
Yeah,
I'd just like us to put in some decent performances, and I just score some goals. Like, just give me something. I mean, I'm at both games this week. I'm at Sheffield tomorrow, and then Sheffield United. I can't say Sheffield because Sheffield United fans will get mad at me. And then Burnley at the weekend. So just give me something to enjoy in that, and then hopefully it'll be right.
I imagine that the more pints that you have, the better there, to be honest, Casey.
I'm trying not to drink as much at the moment. I'm on a little bit of a fitness kick because I've decided that I probably needed to do that with myself. So I might have a 1 pint and we'll see what happens. But if you see me in the concourse on my stand necking bottles of lukewarm Carling at our time, you know we're probably losing.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, I wouldn't blame you for it either.
So yeah, but yeah,
well,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think.
But yeah, I have absolutely no expectations, so they can only exceed them.
It says a lot though when it's Sheffield United and Burnley, and you're still worried if you're going to win though. But really good point to finish up on there, Casey. Where can people find you, mate?
Well, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Casey_Evans_. Just type in Casey Evans, you'll probably find me through that. I have my newsletter, Played on Paper. I'm currently doing some managerial sort of profiles on there. Just writing up my first one. Going to do a few of them because I need to get back into writing. And yeah, I have a YouTube and a TikTok, but I haven't posted there in a while, so I won't direct you there. If you want to follow it, sweet. It's on my.
Feel free to subscribe and follow. Yeah,
feel free to subscribe and follow. There might be stuff on there. We'll figure that out when we come to it. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, lovely. Well, make sure you check out Casey's Twitter. I love following it as well. It's always some really insightful stuff on there as well. Always good.
It's just me screaming for 90 minutes. Like literally, it's
just you screaming and you and Carl Anker just going to where is it you went? Was it somewhere Northern Quarter or something, wasn't
it? It was Black Cat. It's a new one in Northern Quarter.
Oh yeah,
we went NQ64 in Northern Quarter. That's the one we used.
That's where I recognise. Yeah, that's
where we went there the other week as well. Like it's just basically me and Carl just going for drinks and just basically being like, "Why is this our lives?" It's usually not a United match we're watching as well. But
it's always quite fun just to see what's going on. But yeah, obviously, really massive thanks to Casey for coming on. What you on for ages, mate? So it's really good to have you on. Obviously, there's been a couple of weeks. There's been a couple of week break for the United Road, mainly because I've been very busy and not been able to do anything. But obviously, we are back to regular weeks now. I haven't got a clue who's going to be on next week because I haven't asked anyone. This is how busy I've been. But we will be back again next Tuesday, same time, same place. But once again, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you find me on Twitter there as well. And we will see you very soon. Cheers, guys. Bye.